Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to tonight's explosive edition of our sensational news report. I hope you're all ready for a story that takes us deep into the heart of rock and roll, where the legends of the past collide. With the raw and unyielding personality of one of music's most polarizing figures, today we delve into an exclusive exposé that has been sending shockwaves through the music industry. A revelation that cuts straight to the core of Guns N' Roses' turbulent legacy. Brace yourselves for a jaw-dropping account of power, control, and the darker undercurrents that drive one of rock's most iconic bands. Our story tonight comes from none other than Alan Niven, the former manager of Guns N' Roses during their explosive rise from 1986 to 1991. In a candid and bombshell interview promoting his upcoming book, Sound and Fury, Rock and Roll Stories, Niven has revealed startling details regarding the current state of affairs within the band. Details that shine an unflinching light on the inner workings of a group that once ignited the music world with their raw, unadulterated energy. According to Niven, frontman Axl Rose now takes a staggering 50% of the band's income, a financial arrangement that in his eyes undermines the very essence of what Guns N' Roses once represented. He goes further, declaring that Axl's insatiable hunger for control has become an overriding force, driving him to micromanage every aspect of the band's operations and creative direction. Imagine a dynamic that was once fueled by the collective genius and rebellious spirit of 5 distinct individuals, now reduced to a scenario where one man's ambition and egocentric drive dictate everything from the group's income to its very identity. In Niven's own words, he is not Guns N' Roses, a remark that underscores the profound disintegration of a band once lauded as a cohesive musical powerhouse. This revelation is not just a financial footnote, it is an indictment of an individual who, in his relentless pursuit of absolute control, has allegedly sabotaged the band's creative potential and in the process pushed its legacy into troubled waters. As the narrative unfolds, we are transported back to the late 1980s, a time when Guns N' Roses burst onto the scene with a cocktail of musical aggression and raw authenticity that electrified audiences worldwide. The alchemy of their chemistry, the convergence of diverse talents that blended together to create timeless classics, became the stuff of legend. However, behind the dazzling front of explosive guitar riffs and powerhouse vocals lurked a tempest of interpersonal conflict and ambition. According to Niven's recollections, the seeds of discord were sown long before the band reached the pinnacle of rock stardom. While each member contributed to the magic, there remained an undercurrent of tension, a battle for control that would eventually come to define the group's trajectory. Today, Niven paints a picture of an Axl Rose who is singularly fixated on dominating every decision, from financial matters to the artistic vision of Guns N' Roses. The revelation that he now pockets half of the band's income speaks volumes about the consolidation of power that has, over time, warped the band's identity and fractured the camaraderie that once propelled them to greatness. Throughout the podcast episode of Appetite for Distortion, where Niven laid bare his experiences, his tone was one of both incredulity and disappointment. He recalled moments that have since become emblematic of the band's internal struggles, moments when Axl's domineering nature led to decisions that ultimately alienated key members of the group. One such incident took place during the planning of a support slot on Aerosmith's 1987 tour, a once promising opportunity that was swiftly derailed by Axl's apparent reluctance to perform due to what some interpreted as stage fright. Niven, whose managerial philosophy centered around protecting and nurturing the collective potential of the band, found himself at an impasse with a frontman whose overweening need for control was beginning to overshadow the collaborative spirit that had initially defined Guns N' Roses. Look, I signed 5 individuals collectively as Guns N' Roses. My responsibility is to the entity, not the individual, Niven explained with a mix of frustration and bewilderment. Yet, even as he attempted to steer the band along a more balanced course, Axl's insistence on prioritizing his own comfort and dominance led to decisions that, in hindsight, may have sown the seeds of the band's creative decline. In a public, Statement delivered back in 2013, Axl Rose himself had attempted to put a spin on the contentious issues that had long plagued the band's internal dynamics. He claimed that he had been forced into embarking on the mega successful Use Your Illusion tour in 1991, a tour that, while monumental in scale, proved to be a double-edged sword for the band's cohesiveness. Axl pointed the finger at Niven and fellow guitarist Slash, suggesting that both were, in their own ways, trying to subvert his authority and derail his vision. My safety and well-being were not their concern, he had declared, a statement that sent ripples of controversy across the music industry. But Niven's revelations, steeped in years of first-hand experience and intimate knowledge of the band's inner workings, paint an even more damning picture of what has transpired behind the scenes. His assertion suggests that Axl's actions were not born solely out of a desire to protect himself, but were instead part of a broader strategy to monopolize the band's creative output and financial rewards. The notion that one person could, through a combination of shrewd business maneuvers and an unyielding need for control, effectively destabilize a band that once thrived on the collective contributions of its members is as astonishing as it is disheartening. The impact of this power grab extends far beyond the realm of financial inequities. It speaks to a profound shift in the identity of Guns N' Roses, an identity that, in its heyday, was defined by a spirit of rebellion, innovation, and unity among its members. As Niven observed, the transformation has been both drastic and bittersweet. Axl wants to be in control of everything all the time, he stated emphatically, a pronouncement that echoes through the annals of rock history as a cautionary tale of ambition run amok. The fallout has been palpable. Fans who once marveled at the band's unbridled creativity now find themselves confronting a product that, in some quarters, is described as lacking the very soul and spontaneity that once defined it. One critic went so far as to bemoan the result, a boring solo record and a shitty thing of punk covers. While such commentary may be harsh, it serves as a stark reminder that the music, which once stirred the hearts of millions, now finds itself caught in the crossfire of internal dissension and the stifling grip of a single leader's vision. It is not merely the financial arrangements or internal power struggles that have captured public attention. It is the broader implications for the legacy of Guns N' Roses as a band. For decades, the band's mythos has been built on a foundation of raw talent, mutual respect, and a shared commitment to pushing the boundaries of rock and roll. Each of the 5 original members brought a unique flavor to the ensemble, creating a sound that was as innovative as it was groundbreaking. However, as time has marched on, the tensions inherent in any creative collaboration have grown more pronounced. The once blossoming synergy that defined their early years has given way to acrimony and creative deadlock, a transformation that is evident not only to those within the inner circle of the band, but also to millions of fans around the world who once felt a deep connection to the music. In the midst of this transformation, Alan Niven's criticisms serve as a poignant and unvarnished look into the fractures that have developed within the band. His commentary is not simply an exercise in airing grievances, it is a rallying cry for the preservation of a legacy that is under threat. He reminds us that Guns N' Roses was never meant to be the domain of a single individual, that its very essence lies in the diverse contributions and collective spirit of each member. To see that vision eroded by a power struggle is to witness the unraveling of a cultural phenomenon that once defined an era, and yet amid the murmurings of controversy and the bitter recollections of past conflicts, there remains an undercurrent of nostalgia, a longing for the days when the band's chemistry was palpable, when every performance was a potent reminder of what could be achieved when creative minds worked in harmony. Niven's recollections transport us back to those heady times, where every chord struck and every lyric sung was infused with the raw intensity of youthful ambition. He speaks of the band as a living, breathing entity, a synergy of 5 distinct personalities, each contributing to the alchemy that made Guns N' Roses a titan of rock. There were 5 individuals, it was a chemistry, it was a moment, he reminisces, words that evoke a sense of loss and yearning for what once was. These were the days when the future seemed limitless, when the possibilities extended as far as the imagination could reach. And now, as we witness the effects of Axl Rose's iron-fisted control, we are left to ponder, what becomes of a band when its very foundation is reconfigured by the ambitions of one man? For those who have followed Guns N' Roses over the years, the revelations put forth by Alan Niven come as a painful reminder of the ephemeral nature of rock and roll glory. What was once a beacon of creative freedom and unbridled expression is now entangled in legal agreements and power plays that reduce the band's legacy to a series of contractual stipulations. The fact that Axl Rose now claims half of the band's income is emblematic of a broader trend in the music industry. A trend where the lines between art and commerce are increasingly blurred. In today's world, where the demands of business can often stifle creative output, the struggle for control takes on an entirely new dimension. It is no longer enough to simply create. One must also navigate a labyrinth of financial interests and managerial agendas that can all too easily strip away the very soul of the art form. In this context, Niven's lament resonates as an elegy for a bygone era, a time when rock and roll was defined by passion rather than profit, when the spirit of rebellion outweighed the shackles of financial control. Beyond the internal dynamics of Guns N' Roses, the story also touches upon the personal relationships that have long been intertwined with the band's fate. Niven's own experiences with Axl Rose are fraught with both admiration and exasperation, a dichotomy that mirrors the band's tumultuous history. There were moments of genuine creativity and brilliance, punctuated by episodes of discord and heartbreak. One of the most memorable of these occurred during the planning stages of the band's first tour of Japan, a venture that was marred by an incident that, in retrospect, seems almost surreal in its audacity. Niven recalled an episode in which Slash and Izzy Stradlin allegedly consumed an entire stash of drugs to stave off an impending airport bust at Los Angeles International Airport. This incident, as wild as it may sound, is emblematic of the kind of excesses and extremes that characterize the rock and roll lifestyle in its heyday, a time when boundaries were meant to be tested and the rules were made to be broken. Today, such stories have taken on mythic proportions, serving as cautionary tales about the dangers of a lifestyle fueled by excess and unchecked ambition. They remind us that behind the glitz and glamour of rock stardom lies a world of unpredictable behavior, where the pursuit of artistic excellence often leads to moments of both brilliance and calamity. And yet, for all the tales of excess and power struggles, there remains a lingering sense of what could have been, a tantalizing possibility that, despite the challenges, the spirit of Guns N' Roses might one day be rekindled in its true form. There are those among the band's legion of fans who still hold out hope for a return to the days when the group was a cohesive unit, a creative force capable of producing music that not only defied convention, but also touched the hearts of millions. This hope is not unfounded, for within the seeds of discord lie the potential for rebirth and reinvention. However, as long as the battle for control continues to dominate the narrative, the path to such a revival remains murky and fraught with obstacles. The music industry is replete with tales of brilliant bands that, despite reaching dizzying heights of success, were ultimately undone by internal strife and unresolved conflicts. Guns N' Roses, in many ways, has become a modern-day parable, a cautionary tale of what happens when individual ambition eclipses collective creativity. The once incandescent flame of their revolutionary energy now flickers uncertainly, its light dimmed by the weight of contractual obligations and the relentless grip of a man determined to dictate every facet of the band's destiny. As we digest these explosive claims and try to make sense of the conflicting narratives that have emerged, it is impossible not to feel a sense of both nostalgia and apprehension. Nostalgia for a time when rock and roll was defined by its raw, unfiltered authenticity and an unwavering belief in the power of collective genius. Apprehension, on the other hand, for what the future holds when the legacy of a band is monumental. As Guns N' Roses hangs in the balance, threatened by a power dynamic that seems to favor one individual above all else. Alan Niven's candid account serves not only as a damning critique of Axl Rose's management style, but also as a call to the broader music community. A reminder that the true essence of a band lies in its ability to harness the unique talents of each member, rather than funneling all credit and control into the hands of a single overbearing force. In recent months, there have been additional developments that further underscore the tumultuous nature of the situation. In a separate piece of news that has caught the attention of fans worldwide, Slash, the legendary guitarist whose solos once defined the sound of Guns N' Roses, announced his decision to step back from actively engaging on social media platforms. Like Twitter, citing a series of repeated hacks on his account. While this may seem tangential at first, it is emblematic of the broader climate of instability and the relentless pressures that come with being a member of a band that is constantly in the spotlight. Slash's decision, born out of a need to safeguard his personal life and creative space, stands in stark contrast to the tumultuous internal conflicts that have characterized Guns N' Roses over the years. It is a reminder that behind every headline and every sensational revelation lies the reality of living under the relentless glare of public scrutiny, a reality that few can navigate without significant personal sacrifice. As the dust settles on these revelations, one is left to ponder the broader implications for the future of Guns N' Roses. Will the band, as we once knew it, ever be able to reclaim its former glory? Or has the relentless hunger for control, personified by Axl Rose, set the stage for a final act of creative disintegration? For the die-hard fans who have followed the band's every move over the decades, these are questions that resonate on a deeply emotional level. A longing for the magic of days gone by, when every performance was a defiant statement of artistic integrity and the power of collective creativity. The notion that Axl's uncompromising approach might have rendered the band creatively impotent since 1991 is a bitter pill to swallow, a sentiment that echoes through the corridors of rock history as a stark reminder of what happens when individual ambition trumps the collaborative spirit that once defined an era. Yet amidst all this uncertainty and internal strife, there remains a glimmer of hope. A hope that the legacy of Guns N' Roses, much like the music that first set the world ablaze, will endure despite the odds. While the headlines may be dominated by tales of power struggles, financial inequities, and creative deadlocks, the spirit of the band, captured in its iconic riffs, rebellious anthems, and the visceral energy of its live performances, continues to live on in the hearts of fans around the globe. It is in this enduring legacy that the true meaning of Guns N' Roses is preserved, a meaning that transcends contracts, managerial disputes, and the shifting dynamics of fame. It is a testament to the transformative power of music, a force that can uplift even in the face of adversity and bring together generations of listeners with a shared passion for authenticity and raw energy. As we draw closer to the end of this in-depth exploration, let us take a moment to reflect on the overarching narrative that has emerged from these revelations. The story of Guns N' Roses, as recounted by Alan Niven, is a multifaceted saga, one that is as much about the relentless pursuit of creative freedom as it is about the perils of unchecked ambition and power consolidation. It is a story that invites us to consider the delicate balance that exists between individual expression and collective harmony. And it challenges us to question whether one can ever truly have it all when the reins of control are monopolized by a single force. Its core, this narrative is a powerful reminder that the most enduring aspects of rock and roll are not the headlines or the financial figures, but the genuine passion and artistry that drive musicians to push the boundaries of what is possible. Okay, it is a call to all those who have ever been inspired by the raw energy of a live performance or the rebellious spirit of a breakthrough single. Despite the internal battles that may threaten to erode its foundation, the legacy of Guns N' Roses remains a beacon of what can be achieved when creativity is allowed to flourish in an environment of mutual respect and shared vision. In conclusion, as we wrap up this exhaustive look at the controversy shaking the core of Guns N' Roses, let us remember that every great story is defined not only by its moments of triumph, but also by its struggles. The revelations concerning Axl Rose's alleged financial control and the insidious impact of his unwavering desire to dominate every aspect of the band's identity provide us with a rare glimpse behind the curtain, a look at the challenges that lie beneath the dazzling facade of rock and roll stardom. The legacy of Guns N' Roses, much like the music that first captivated millions of fans around the world, is a complex tapestry woven from threads of brilliance, conflict, and the enduring human spirit. Thank you for joining us tonight on this roller coaster ride through the inner workings of one of rock's most legendary bands. As we bid farewell, let us carry with us the lessons of this tumultuous journey, the importance of collaboration, the dangers of unchecked ambition, and the timeless reminder that even the most iconic symbols of musical excellence are not immune to the pressures of power and control. Though the future of Guns N' Roses hangs in a delicate balance, the music and the memories they have created will continue to echo in the annals of rock history, inspiring generations to come. So as the night wears on and we reflect on the extraordinary tale of ambition, conflict, and the fight for creative integrity, we leave you with this thought. In the realm of rock and roll, it is often the struggles, the internal conflicts, the battles for control, and the poignant moments of vulnerability that define the true character of a band. Guns N' Roses, for all its trials and tribulations, will forever remain a symbol of rebellion, of raw passion, and of the unyielding drive to carve out a space where artistic expression can thrive against all odds. Good night, dear viewer. Thank you for being part of this explosive journey into the heart of rock and roll. May you continue to find inspiration in the music that moves you and the stories that remind us of the true power of creative unity. Until next time, keep rocking, stay true to yourself, and never forget that even in the face of adversity, the spirit of rebellion endures.